after me. Drowning in what feels just like an ocean.
Hi, this is Brock L with Femigod. I'm here with Mindy Arbuckle. How are you doing today, Mindy?
I'm feeling blessed and grateful today. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And thank you for coming here. Thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Do you think you can give us a little bit of info on your background and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Nebraska, this small town country girl who ended up never really fitting in and always having a really big open heart that knew there was something more. Ended up going to an engineering university. And then shortly after I graduated from this engineering university, I started my spiritual practices, actually during school. And it really allowed me to tap into who I knew I was, but couldn't always communicate to the outer world. Right. And so that practice started with yoga primarily. I was always into interesting things, but like crystals and how to use jewelry to up level our vibrations. But yoga ended up being the path that picked me for quite a long time. And I ended up owning and running yoga studios, doing teacher trainings, having my own school. Now, yoga was always wonderful, but it wasn't always just about the body for me. It was like the wholeness that yoga offered is
Yes.
what really drew me to it, because we're not just a physical body. It's important, it's lovely, it's our vessel, but we are a heart, we are a mind, we are emotions and energy and a spirit. And so to be able to tap into all those different layers is the path that has really worked for me, and being able to see ourselves as a multifaceted crystal and to only look at one facet limits who you can be and how you can show up in the world. So I really love to see the wholeness and the deep connection of myself, all the parts, but also everything all around.
That's beautiful. That makes a lot of sense. I know one thing we always talk about is how did you make that transition from, you know, going to school for engineering and kind of being on that path to yoga teacher? At what point did you start to say, well, maybe my spirituality needs to encompass all of myself, including my career? And how did you make that transition?
Yeah, I always joked after I graduated that I didn't have a real job yet, right? And that I ended up starting to teach yoga, and I ended up teaching yoga like almost full time. I was teaching about 25, 30 classes a week back when I was a young woman and could handle that. And it was really more through desire to just do something that I really loved, that I honestly felt as I was deepening my own practices that if I kept this to myself and I didn't share it, I didn't become a teacher, I would be like the most selfish person on the planet. And so it was a deep desire to share what I was experiencing, what I knew to be true, and how it was unfolding for me with other people. And that eventually blossomed into opening up yoga studios and making it my life's mission to really help other people, and specifically women, love themselves, truly actually love themselves, see the value, which leads to healthier relationships, better boundaries. It leads to a more fulfilling career, being a better mom. I mean, it changes everything. It changes your life to be able to really be tapped into who you are.
Yes, no, I agree with that 100%. What would you say for someone that is maybe on the fence? You know, they've been doing the spiritual work for a while, but they're still working at a job, you know, that's maybe not conducive to their spirituality or a mundane job. But, you know, when you choose to make this leap and enter into a career that focus more on spirituality, you're
Mhm.
exposing such a big part of yourself and such a sacred part of yourself.
Mhm.
So, what would you say to somebody that's still kind of on the fence and nervous about exposing that part of itself? They don't really know if that's something they should share with the world, but at the same time, they feel like, well, my spirituality is so big, this job is taken away from me because it's just time that I'm not focused on my spiritual work.
Mhm. it's a really great question. I would say that the divine is everywhere. God, Goddess, everywhere. So wherever you are, find the divinity in it. Use your life as your practice. So use where you're at right now in that job that kind of feels like it's sucking your soul. Can you use your spiritual practices to really transition the mind and the heart to see possibilities of your practice entering into this world of your work? And it doesn't mean you have to stay there forever, but we can practice everywhere. And when you see the opportunity to show up more fully as yourself, because that's everybody's dharma, that's our purpose, is to embody our greatness. And if you can do that in a soul-sucking job, well, shit, you can do it anywhere. Right? And if you
That's
can do
true.
it there, and you can start to reveal just a little bit of who you really are, you don't have to, open the gates to your colleagues, but I bet you're going to be able to find a place where you can communicate a little bit better, where you could have a little less judgment, where you could have more compassion or understanding. Those are all ways of practicing our spirituality. And then that allows you to gain confidence with who you are, no matter where you are. So then that transition to really opening up into the fullness of a new spiritual career doesn't feel so scary, because you've already started that process in a place where you could least expect to start that process. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's actually really good advice. I think a lot of times people feel like they just have to take a big leap and, automatically jump into their next career or jump into this spiritual life. But, that's a really good point, taking baby steps and slowly getting adjusted to it. I mean, is that going to school for engineering? Is that how it worked for you? Or were you just kind of like, once you started doing yoga, you knew this is for me, I
It
got to
was
teach, I
definitely
got to.
baby steps. I started practicing yoga when I studied abroad my junior year in college, which was way back in 1999 and 2000. And it was more of a survival mechanism than anything else, to be able to find my center in the midst of not knowing anything and anyone. And then the next step was really getting through that last year of my college career. I was not at the right school. Like, I didn't actually become an engineer, but
Yeah.
I was at an engineering university, and so I got an economics and business degree. And it was like, okay, show up where you are, who you are, and that is a progressive step, and it just keeps getting better and better the more steps you take. And I took a real job when I graduated university eventually. And when we moved to a different location, I got a real job, but then that real job ended up not working out. And I ended up saying, I can see this door is closing, but what if there's a window opening over here that says, pick me, and take a leap of faith to go open that first yoga studio. You know, the universe will give you exactly what you need it when you trust.
Yes.
And it's a difficult process to trust all of that, and to not just blame your circumstances, right? Well, yeah, I went to the wrong university, or I have the wrong job right now and it's awful, and I can't be aligned there. Well, you get to choose if you're aligned anywhere, right? It is absolutely 100% your choice every single moment of every single day, if you're feeling aligned or not. And if you're not feeling aligned, what steps can you take? What baby steps can you take to start that process of feeling more like yourself where you are?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that is key, is taking that self-responsibility, to choose to align yourself to whatever position you made to be. Is that so? How did you go from teaching the classes, opening up your yoga studio, to actually start training more teachers? How did that process kind of work, and what was that like?
So I had been teaching at that point for about 5 years, and there was a need. There was a need for more teachers in our area, and I had wisdom. I had wisdom that I could share. And I have a very big perspective of what yoga can be. And so instead of just focusing on the postures, the asana, um, I said, you know what? If you're going to be a really great teacher, you've got to be able to have a foundation. And that foundation has got to include what yoga really started out as, which is understanding the present moment and understanding that the mind is the thing that gets in the way. You know, yoga is really all about getting through the mind junk.
Yes.
And if we can get through the mind junk, then the light of the soul gets to shine through. But the mind is the thing that holds us back. It's not the body. The body's easy, it's tangible. So we love to move it and it feels good and it moves energy. But we do the body movements to help clear the mind. So then we can feel more like ourselves.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You know, I
So it
get
was
it.
it was a natural progression. And I just, I'm a bit of a geek. I'm totally self-committed geek. And also a recovering perfectionist. So I had taken trainings. I knew exactly what I liked about the trainings I had taken. I knew exactly what I didn't like. And I wanted to make something that was awesome. And I did. I had a yoga school for 13 years and taught hundreds of yoga teachers how to be phenomenal yoga teachers and to really shine their light and to spread this gift we're all familiar with.
That's beautiful. I mean, I think that's so important is getting people to understand the philosophy and that it's not just asanas. You know, there's a whole big world behind this. And it's like you said, it's about bringing out that light and clearing all the mind junk out. And once you do that, your true self will be able to shine. You know, that true light that's in you that everybody has will be able to shine. And your mind, you're exactly correct. You know, your mind is what gets in the way of that and all the doubt and all the, lack of self-confidence. It's very easy to get caught up in these things. What would you say to somebody that's been taking yoga, they've been doing yoga for a while and they're starting to consider that, they have something to offer and they might be ready to become a teacher? What advice would you give for them?
I would say start exploring, the local area, but in the days of COVID and a pandemic, honestly, you can take any training just about anywhere these days. So find something that really resonates with what you want to learn. If the physical postures are the most important thing to you, then go there. If you want to learn what's behind the physical postures, maybe you want to learn more about the energetics and the chakra system, then go to somebody who has that expertise. If you want the philosophy and the meditation aspects, the mantras, you know, ask those questions. And if you're not sure, then look at your own practice. What really resonates with you, and where do you feel like you have room for growth? What other areas are you being called to? And I would look for trainings that really have those aspects within them, to be able to not just do what you already know, but to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone just a little bit more.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually really good advice.
Mhm.
I know speaking of COVID, how have you made the transition? I know, it's obviously being a yoga teacher, you feel the effects of it. I mean, were you able to make the transition and what things have you done that have been successful?
Well, it's a very interesting story. In fact, about a year and a half ago, my husband and I and family moved to the mountains of Colorado from the city. And I ended up selling my yoga studios right before COVID hit, which was a very interesting timing, but such a blessing. And I have not been teaching traditional yoga asana classes since I moved, really, because I am focusing more on diving into the spirit. Like the spirit is the solution. It's not about just the body. And especially, I think this has been revealed through the pandemic that before the pandemic, we were all holding stress in our bodies intensely, a stressful commute or being able to, the body was holding it all. And now we realize how much mental stress we're all under. And so it's really about the mind and the heart more, in my opinion, right now than just the physical body. Still, again, physical body stuff, great. Yoga postures, great. But we're in a mode where we need more than just the physical body movement to get through the junk that we're all carrying. I mean, so much weight every single heart has so much weight that they're burdened with right now because of loss of families, loss of jobs, being socially isolated, not having our normal routines, not being able to have the same community effects. It's a lot of mental and spiritual stress that we're going through. So I've really been focusing on that more than anything.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So now that you're focused more on the spirit, if somebody wants to contact you and work with you, what kind of services do you offer?
Absolutely. I have coaching that I do, spiritual coaching. And, really, if you get the spirit aligned, if you get aligned with your highest self, your authentic self, and you can figure out how to show up as her or him every day, then that really is the solution to most of your problems. So it could be relationships, it could be work, it could be family, showing up as your parent, as a good parent. So it really help get people unstuck from knowing that there's more and not knowing how to get there, right? And to find me, it's easy. It's just my name, mindyarbuckle.com. It's so easy. I also have a Facebook group. It's called Happiness is an Inside Job. And I get to interact with my clients that way. We have a great budding community there, and we really just get to work together on lifting ourselves up from inside and taking that responsibility that we were talking about before, that your heart, your life, your happiness, it really is your job to do it. It's not somebody else's.
No, that's key. I think, being your authentic self, everything does fall in line once you can be your authentic self, but getting there is such a hard process, and peeling back all those layers to find out who you
Oh
truly
no,
are.
Barack, I'm losing you.
Oh, hold on. Can you hear me now?
I got you.
Okay. There's so many layers that you have to peel back. And do you notice as a coach the biggest obstacles people face to becoming their authentic selves?
It's rules that they've placed on themselves in their lives. I mean, it's really the belief that they're not enough. It's also not holding their own value. It's saying that, well, I'm only this, so who am I to be this? Right? Like I'm just a therapist, I'm just a teacher, I'm just a mom, I'm just a massage therapist. Who am I to like step into a bigger role and lead people toward their highest self? Um, it's like, no, that's exactly why you're here. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And it's also, there's a lot of fear. There's so much fear in our world these days. And we take that on as fear of being our greatness, fear of the unknown, fear of success and failure at the same freaking time. Right? There's so much fear that you're going to repeat the same process, but you end up by indulging in that fear, repeating the same patterns over and over, and you feel like you're stuck. And that's where I get to help people, is really seeing clearly what's going on in their minds and in their bodies and in their hearts, rather than feeling like they can't decipher. They know something's wrong, but they can't put their finger on it. So that's the benefit of having a spiritual coach, is like super clarity, and it just like supersonics your progress, because you don't want to do it alone. It's hard to do it alone, and you're never really sure if you're doing it right. And when you've got a community, and you've got a coach, you've got an advocate who's going to hold you accountable for actually doing the work, because if we're honest, who doesn't do their work sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. One thing I've noticed in life, in anything, whether it's business, working out,
Mhm.
that's one of the main things, accountability. A coach will hold you accountable.
Yeah.
When you're making sure whatever that you get on the mat every day, you do your meditation, you do your energy work. I mean, it's so easy to fall off. And again, like we were talking about community, that's what community is there for, to hold you accountable and to make sure that you can progress through it. What,
Mhm.
I mean, do you notice that there's a big lack of community in a lot of people that have those negative belief systems?
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, how do we have community right now? It's such a weird time that we're living through, but I keep reminding myself and everyone else is that we were born for these times. You know, we are the ones who are meant to get through this and to find new ways of creating that community. And that's one of the greatest things about me and my past is that like I got to build community at yoga studios for 15 years. This is what I do. This is what I love to do is really building community and helping people connect to each other and to their highest self. It just happens to be in a new way right now. And eventually those new ways will lead to being back in person and doing fun retreats and like that kind of stuff together. But right now, why not take advantage of this? Because we have a choice. We can be isolated and alone, or we can find ways of connecting. You know, like let's find ways of connecting. This, I know this one works better for me. This one doesn't work so good.
Yes, I can agree 100%. I mean, that's what we're very big on community here and just
Mhm.
building that network that can not only hold you accountable, but give you the support when you need it. You know, there's so many
Know that
times,
there's other people out there that are doing it.
yes, that have gone through the same problems and same trials and tribulations that you
Mhm.
face, and just being able to see, even just being able to see somebody that's overcame that, or somebody that's went through the problem, you know, that you feel is impossible and made it through. I mean, it can have such a drastic impact for yourself, and even shattering those negative belief systems, like you said. I mean, I think one of the things that's hard to realize, and I've talked with other people, is that you don't necessarily choose these belief systems. You inherit them from your parents, your friends, your families,
Yeah,
your teacher growing up. And then if you don't do enough self reflection, you start to trick yourself into thinking that these things are really you.
yeah.
So, what are some of the ways that you advise your clients to deprogram? How can you really start picking out these negative belief patterns or negative belief structures and breaking them down and then reinstalling the positive one?
Absolutely. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to see the belief clearly. If you don't know that that belief is there and it's controlling you from the shadows, you're never going to change it. Even if somebody points it out to you, if you don't actually see it for yourself, you'll never be able to do it. Okay. So then you've got to see it first. Once you see it, then you've got to go, okay, I see you. Oh, and I'm actually going to acknowledge that you're there. Because seeing and acknowledging are two different things. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Definitely.
So really going, okay, that is present in my life. And then when you know that it's present, then you have a choice. You can either say, yep, I'm going to keep doing that because it's been working for me, even if it's not working so well anymore. It's, you know, then you've consciously chosen it. Or you can say, I don't like that. I don't want to keep doing that. I'm going to choose something different. And you can learn from it because learning from our past is important, but being controlled by it from the shadows does not serve anyone. So you've got to be able to pull it out of the shadows, see it clearly, acknowledge it, and learn from it. You know, take the good stuff and toss the rest aside, creating space for you to choose something new. And then that's up to you. And like all these spiritual practices in this community can help you have some perspective about what's a better path, what's a better choice, and you can actually rewrite your rules, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
You don't
That's
have to live by the rules of your parents and your grandparents and your teachers and all the people who programmed you. They're their rules, they're not yours, right? So you actually are
yes.
the person who gets to write the rules. And when you feel that, it gives you confidence, it gives you courage, and it allows you to say, I'm important and I'm taking charge. So then it gives you freedom to be you.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think writing your own script is key. You know, it's so easy to get caught into somebody else's agenda or somebody else's program. And, you know, I talk to a lot of people and, you know, they've been here 30, 40, 50, 60 years on the planet and they realize everything I've been doing has been somebody else's design. You know,
Right?
I've never taken the time to write down my goals or write down what's important to me or draw a map to where I want to go, you know,
Mhm.
which is one of the key things to getting to where you want to go. Do you think, I mean, when coaching somebody, do you notice that that's more of a problem of actually getting them to do the work or getting them to notice that there's a problem in the first place?
Oh, that's a great distinction. Um, I think the first hurdle is getting them to see it, right? To see clearly what's really going on. Because when you're looking at your own shit, it's like, am I looking at the forest or am I looking at the trees? I can't tell what's what, right?
Yeah,
And so when you're looking at your own junk, it's hard to tell, is that me? Is that my highest self? Is that my small self? I don't, is that the ego? You're confused and you don't really know where it's coming from. And so when you can see it, then even if it's not yours, somebody else planted that in you, 20, 30, 40 years ago, then you actually have the choice to be able to make the practices and take the steps and the rituals that you need to get the support to make that change. And I suggest use the supports that you love, whether it's crystals as your support. I think meditation is important for everyone, but there's millions of ways to meditate.
yes.
I think that being able to take time for yourself and to nurture who you really are is one of the most important things that you can do. But if you love, like for me, I love crystals, right? Like they're all over my desk, they're all over my house. I
Yes.
love the goddesses because they remind me that their power is actually inside of me. And to be able to, utilize that force and to wake it up, because it's just dormant inside of me, to clear the chakras. I mean, do the things that work for you. That's the important part, is to use the rituals and the practices that align with your belief system. Everybody's different. We've all got lots of overlapping, but we don't all have to have the same path.
No, I mean, that's what we're all about here,
Mhm.
understanding that everybody has a different journey and everybody has an individual path. But even though you have your individual path, you can work with people on their path,
Uh-huh.
because although they're individual, they're still similar on a macrocosm. We're all going through the same experience, we're just experiencing in different ways.
The law of one. Like it's one of the principles that I live by. We are all connected so deeply. We're individual little particles on this planet, but we interact. And when one person up levels, it does affect people around them. It does raise the vibration around you. And we don't have to have the same practices, but we can learn something from every single person that we encounter, because we're all connected and it's all got the same base energy. Whether you're doing crystals, chakras, tarot, Reiki, like it's all got the same underlying energy, that, and that's what connects. So
Yes.
learn from people, like reach out, share your wisdom. And we're not perfect on this path. No, none of us are, and we don't have to be, but we can share what we're learning and what we're experiencing right now.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, as far as your personal practice goes, are there some things that you could recommend, to our audience as far as practice, things
Mhm.
that can help their vibration, things that can help, destroy negative belief patterns and reprogram themselves?
Mhm. I'm just going to say radical self-love, which means loving all of you, the shit and the great stuff, and just learning about you. Like the more you can know who you are, the better. And the way I do that is every morning when I wake up, I lay in bed before I get out of bed, and I think about my day and I think about the things that I'm grateful for. And then I come up and I come to my meditation space and I meditate and I journal. I write down those grateful things, but it's not just about writing a list of grateful things. It's about feeling the gratitude, because gratitude and prosperity are neighbors. And when you put the energy of feeling energy behind it, then they can really overlap. So then after I write down my gratitude and the things that I rocked the day before, then because we always focus on the things that we're shit at and that we didn't do well enough. So I like to focus on the things that I did do well, because especially as women, I think we can be really hard on ourselves and forget to focus on our greatness.
No, that's
And I
very important.
meditate and I breathe and I, my meditations can be visualizations. They can be chakras. They can be just focusing on the present moment and being. It can be mantras. I mean, I do all kinds of amazing things, but mostly it's just taking that time to sit and be. Then I have silly things like a gratitude break on my phone at 11:11 every day. I have an alarm that goes off and it's called gratitude break. and I just put my hand on my heart and I remember the things that I'm grateful for. And I do that again when I go to bed. I'm a busy mom. I have work, I have a husband, I have a house, we've got all the things just like everybody else, but you've got to take that time for yourself every single day, and when you go to bed, focus on the greatness of your gratitude, focus when you wake up on that. Do your meditation when it works for you, and do little things like gratitude breaks. Oh, and I have my staircase comes upstairs to my office and my sacred space, and they have singing bell bowls on them, and I ding them every time I go by them, almost every time. I don't remember every time. And I have a Hanuman statue, and I high five Hanuman every time I walk by him. Like just little reminders through the day. It's fantastic.
No, that's great. I mean, I think gratitude is so important. That's actually this last week, that's kind of been my whole focus on everything. I've been focusing a lot on prosperity and abundance, but I think, you hit the nail on the head that prosperity and gratitude go hand in hand. So anytime you start to feel that lack, applying gratitude in your life is a good way to remove that. So I think that's a great practice. I definitely have to start setting my alarm for a gratitude break. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the community, or anything you'd like to give them to take away?
Oh, I'm kind of going in and out again.
Is there anything else? Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the community, or anything else you feel like they can take away?
I just feel like the Divine Mother, the Divine Feminine is calling us. She's calling us to step up, to cut through our own BS, and to really be embodied in who we are supposed to be. And that takes work, and it's kind of fun work, because it really should be joyful. A lot of people on the spiritual path are like, it's so hard, but it can be really fun. I love making it fun. But we're being called to be better. We're being called to lift each other up, because we are the ones who are going to solve the problems of the world. It's not going to be the politicians. It's not going to be, like the famous people in our society. It's going to be the average everyday woman and man who can step up to themselves. And to do that really effectively, you need community and you need mentors. And get them wherever you can. But that's what you need to do right now is put yourself in a position to make yourself important, because every time we raise ourselves up, we're able to raise others up.
No, I agree with that 100%. That's very beautiful. And thank you for stopping by today, Mindy. I really appreciate it. For all those out there interested in spiritual coaching, please go to mindyarbuckle.com, check her out. We'll provide you with more great information and coaching. So thank you again for stopping by, Mindy. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad to have been here, and I look forward to building this community together.
Yes, definitely. You have an incredible day, Mindy. Thank you.
Thanks, Barack.
So casually keep diving into concrete. So bittersweet. Keep losing sleep.